Chapter 25. That evening, Nick sat at his desk typing up a report from the shooting earlier. He had just finished when Fisk came into the office. He hadn't seen the young deputy since the courthouse. It seemed so long ago.
Deputy Fisk, what can I do for you?
Nick asked, hoping that whatever he wanted wasn't anything too time-consuming.
I had a call over on Odusky. That's the call you were on during the time of the shooting? Yeah, 2 guys were rummaging through the burned-down house over on 7th and Odusky. A neighbor called it in. It wasn't 722 by any chance, was it? How'd you know? Just a guess. Did you get to talk to the guys? I had pulled over a speeding driver just before. By the time I got there, they were gone. But I did get to talk to the neighbor by the name of Clyde Evans. He said the house had been abandoned for a couple of months. He wasn't sure why the guys were there. Did he tell you anything else? Just that he figured they were the ones that torched the house in the first place. So that's where you found the printing press plate? Yeah, I just don't know why they returned either. I checked the place the day after. The plate was the only piece of evidence there. It couldn't have been used to produce more bills after the fire was damaged.
Nick said thoughtfully. Then he looked over at Charlene before returning to Fisk.
Thanks for all your hard work today. If there is anything else, I'm going to head home. See you tomorrow. Good night, Sheriff.
Fisk said on his way out. It was 9:20. After all this time, Nick could finally do what he wanted to do all day. Question Charlene. Nick went to the cell and unlocked it. The clicking of the tumblers awoke her. She turned over and opened her eyes.
Sheriff, what's the big idea? Waking a girl when she's trying to get some sleep?
I'm glad you find the accommodations to your liking,
Nick said, holding the cell door open for her.
You mean you're letting me leave my little cell?
We have an understanding, don't we? Besides, I thought you could join me for dinner.
Sure, why not?
Charlene smiled as she went over to Nick's desk. Nick began preparing her soup and crackers in the kitchenette. Charlene watched. After letting it heat up in the hot pot, he brought the moderately heated bowl of soup over to her and placed it on his desk.
I have to admit, the accommodations are getting better. Wonders never cease.
Nick chuckled, sitting down across from her.
Speaking of being amazed, the judge signing my bail for $250,000 was pretty amazing. All my money's been frozen. I couldn't pay a bail bondsman $25,000 even if I wanted to. Did you tell him to do that?
Did I tell him to do what?
Set my bail so ridiculously high?
No, but you have to understand why he did.
Not for the life of me.
He took into account the charges filed against you, your prior convictions, not to mention the fact that this is a counterfeiting case. Decent, hard-working citizens around here don't have that kind of money just lying around.
I get it. Anybody who comes forward to post my bail
will become a suspect in this case.
Well, Sweeney wasn't too happy about it.
Don't worry about Stan. He's just doing his job,
Nick said, watching Charlene scoop in a hearty spoonful of soup. The way Nick saw it, Charlene was home. She had her personal cook, a free roof over her head, and most of all, protection from Rico Argela. Too bad it was about to end.
I've got to be honest with you, Sheriff. I'm not really looking forward to meeting with him next week. Sweeney's a sweetheart, but when he gets angry, whew, he's got himself a real temper,
she said, followed by another spoonful.
Well, since we're being honest, what can you tell me about the work you did for Rico, and how exactly did you come to meet him?
Nick's question caught Charlene with her spoon in mid-air. She paused and thought, and then put the spoon into her mouth before returning it to her bowl. It was the first break she took since she sat down.
I met Rico after an arrest he made back in New York.
He arrested you?
Yeah, he arrested me and a friend of mine. She and I were running a small counterfeiting operation, but it was nowhere near the operation Rico was running. After I got out of the pen, I did the whole halfway house thing, but I couldn't make it on the outside.
What happened to your friend?
You mean Ruby?
Ruby Bittner was the name Nick had seen on the government forged checks. However, there was a chance it could have been another woman with the same first name.
Yes, Ruby.
She didn't make it out. No, Ruby got into a couple of bad scuffles on the inside, so they denied her parole.
Do you mind if I talk to her?
I don't care.
What's her name?
Ruby Hammonds.
Charlene said simply. Nick sighed in frustration.
Sometimes she goes by the maiden name Bittner.
Nick returned a little smile, feeling as if he was finally getting somewhere.
Just don't tell her I told you about her. She's not too happy that I got out before she did. She thinks I betrayed her.
Did you?
What can I say? Rico liked me best. He kept in touch while I was in Westford House. He told me when I was done to give him a call. I did. Since then, he and I have been, well, you know.
I get the reason you betrayed him, but what I don't understand is why you went as far as to contact the Treasury Department. How did you know to do that?
Sheriff Moran, I may be an amateur in the business, but I'm not stupid.
No, Charlene, I don't think you are. I'm just saying, once the investigation started, didn't you think it would come out that you were also involved?
It was my plan to be long gone before then. But something happened that I didn't expect, and well, here I am.
What happened, if you don't mind me asking?
Before I got into trouble with Rico, I knew a man. We went back a long way. I had met him as a result of a one-night stand during my little trip I took to Vegas. I don't have to tell you that things got a little crazy.
Thank you for sparing me the details.
After that, I was naive enough to think that he cared. That is, until he threw a $20 bill at me, thanking me for my services. I was insulted. I wasn't that kind of girl.
Of course not.
Anyway, while I was telling him that we had a good thing going, he got a call from his wife. Believe me, that little bit of information never came up the night before. As I told you, I'm not that kind of girl. So, I told him that it would be a shame if his wife found out about us. You know, I just said it to get his attention, and boy did it ever. He got angry and flew into a rage and tried to attack me. He said if I ever went near his wife or contacted him again, he would finish what he started. Then he left. Now, I remember this part as if it was just yesterday. I went to the little restaurant downstairs in the hotel and tried to buy myself a cup of coffee with the 20 he just gave me, and they said it was counterfeit.
No kidding.
Nick said, putting all the pieces together.
Of course, they made me answer some questions down at the police station, but I led them on a wild goose chase because I wanted to get back at that man myself.
And what was his name?
I'm not telling. You see, you can have him when I get through with him.
Fair enough. But since you're about to go to prison because of Rico or Jayla, I think you would be doing yourself a favor by telling me.
I won't do it. I have my reasons. Now, if you would be so kind as to let me go back to sleep, I'd really appreciate it,
she said in a mockingly sweet voice as she got up and went back to her cell, closing herself in. By the time Nick got home, the large bandage he had patched on his shoulder from the injury he incurred was soaked through, making the wound look worse than it was. He had gotten so caught up in the information Charlene was giving him, he nearly forgot about the burning pain he felt earlier. Nick went into the house. The lights were off, except for the light in the dining room, where Michelin sat at the table going through the stacks of paperwork scattered about. Aside from her ponytail, as well as her pink tank top and pink checkered pajama pants, she looked like her old self, straight and to the point, and completely focused. Seeing him come in, Michelin smiled up at him.
Hey, look at you.
Nick said, pulling her into his arms and caressing the soft curvature of her body.
I never thought you owned anything pink.
Are you making fun of me, Nick Moran?
Me? Never. What's all this?
He asked, staring down at the papers on the table.
Some reports from the case. I thought I should review them before our meeting with Joni tomorrow.
Welcome back, stranger.
Nick teased as she laughed.
Here, take a look at this.
Michelin said, preparing to show him something when her hand moved over the soaked bandage on his shoulder. She gasped, pulling away.
What happened to you?
You obviously didn't see the news.
I've been working. What happened?
She asked in a rush.
It's really no big deal. There was a shooting this afternoon.
A shooting? Was anybody hurt?
I mean, outside of you.
This man was apparently cleaning his gun after too many beers and accidentally shot himself.
Is he all right?
He'll be fine.
So, how'd this happen?
Michelin gestured to his bandage.
Oh, this. I went through the back door with my shoulder. I'll be all right,
he said, trying to ignore the pain that was coming on stronger now.
Let's get you cleaned up,
she said, going into the bathroom in search for a first aid kit. While Michelin was gone, Nick went over and turned on the television. There stood Randy Denning questioning Nick about the shooting, making more out of the incident than it needed to be.
I knew you owned one of these,
Michelin said, referring to the first aid kit she'd found.
That man is an idiot.
Nick.
I'm starved. Did you eat?
Nick said, turning the television off.
First things first, have a seat,
she said, encouraging him to come and sit down on the sofa.
What are you doing?
You need medical attention. I'm surprised you didn't go to the hospital and get this looked at,
Michelin said, slowly peeling the bloody ace bandage from his shoulder. Nick tried to withstand the pain from the gash, telling himself that the reason he felt dizzy was because he hadn't eaten since breakfast. But whether it was a gash or his hunger, Nick felt his discomfort subside as he watched Michelin tend to his wound. Her attentive care made him smile with the realization that she loved him. It was in her touch, the way she looked at him, the way she spoke to him. Michelin was a woman he wanted to share the rest of his life with. There was no other way around it.
Will you marry me?
The words tumbled out of his mouth before he could stop them. There Michelin sat, looking more stunned than she did when she heard about the shooting. Suddenly, the look in her eyes faded from concern to fear.
Nick, I don't know what to say.
As usual, my timing's off. But that doesn't change how I feel, how I've been feeling.
Wow,
she sounded with an uncomfortable laugh.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
That? You're calling my proposal for marriage a that?
I'm sorry, I just meant it's so sudden.
I got a little caught up in the moment, and I knew if I opened my mouth to say anything, asking you to marry me was going to be it.
He chuckled with embarrassment as he shook his head.
I guess I should have kept my mouth shut, huh?
No, Nick, really. It isn't you. It's just, there's so many things going on, and I wasn't prepared, and
It's okay, sweetheart. You don't have to explain. Thank you for helping me with my shoulder,
he said, seeing the good job she'd done mending his wound, only to turn around and rip open his heart.
I'm going to go fix something to eat. Do you want anything?
No, I'm not hungry,
Michelin said quietly. Nick drew in close and kissed her cheek. She felt cold, as if she had frozen over. Did he honestly just knock all the life right out of her? He was too embarrassed to ask. The two said nothing more on the subject for the remainder of the evening, with intent to pretend that the whole ugly scene never happened. But it had, and now a wall of awkward tension was growing between them. Putting himself out of his misery, Nick set his empty plate on the sink and told Michelin good night. He wasn't sure if she responded. The only thing he knew was that he felt bad subjecting the woman he loved to a marriage proposal she obviously didn't want. Tuesday afternoon, Nick sat in the conference room with Michelin and prosecuting attorney Joni Ansler, going over the highlights of the case to strengthen the position of the prosecution. Nick noticed that when Joni spoke, Michelin gave her undivided attention, but when he spoke, she conveniently resorted to jotting something on her legal pad. Nick had to give Michelin credit on account that she had ignoring him down to a science, or so it seemed, until the moment she reached for the coffee pot handle at the same time he did. What could have been an endearing moment became a staring game of uncomfortable silence with an overlay of frantic uneasiness, reminding him of her response to his proposal. Michelin managed a crooked smile, followed by a robotic nod of her head, as Nick poured the coffee into her cup. Joni snickered before returning to her work. After several hours, the third pot of coffee was now empty, and the sandwiches from Sub and Munch were long gone.
Charlene's definitely holding something back,
Nick said, finishing his cup of coffee.
Do you honestly think there's a connection between this mystery man of hers and Brett Auger?
It's definitely worth finding out.
What can you tell me regarding Brett Auger's case pending with the department? Whatever allegations concerning Brett may be on file, I have a man on the inside who may have access to that file.
I'll ask the judge to issue a subpoena for both men to appear in court.
The man I'm referring to told me this information in confidence. Agent Stone, I respect your loyalty to your source, but you have to know that without his testimony, this information means nothing. It's just hearsay.
Nick was fully aware that Michelin knew as much about the law as Joni, yet his need to wrap up this case put her in a position that gave Joni the upper hand.
I'll do what I can. Good. It's getting late. I'm going to head back to the office,
Joni said. According to the clock on the wall, it was now a little after 7. 4 hours straight of dealing with reports and court strategy was enough after a full day's work on Nick's part. He was definitely ready to call it a night. But first, he'd have to do another patrol through the main streets of Callahan before heading home. While gathering her things, Joni suggested fitting in another meeting to depose the witnesses before having them take the stand. After confirming a time that was good for the three of them, Joni told Nick and Michelin goodbye. Once they were alone, Nick watched Michelin clear off the table. She had a system for handling even the smallest task, making everything she did fit together like a seamless puzzle. He needed her to help him manage his life, but more than that, he was just tired of being without her. He sighed, pushing himself away from the table as he left. Nick went down the hall to check on Charlene before leaving. He saw her empty soup bowl on the tray setting on the floor of the cell while she sat on her cot with a vacant stare.
How long do I have to stay here?
Until your trial,
he said, retrieving her tray and putting it on the counter.
Have you heard when that might be?
No, Judge Schrader hasn't mentioned it, but it could be within a month or longer.
I'm tired of being cooped up in here. But considering the alternative, I guess it's better than being out there.
Are you worried?
There's a chance Swaney may get me out.
I don't know. He wasn't able to do it before, but then again, you don't mind going back to prison, do you? Maybe you can say hello to your old friend, Ruby Bittner.
That's all a joke to you, isn't it?
I tried to take you seriously, but you're the one who insists on playing games.
Suppose I tell you what you want to know. What would that do for me? You'll still think I'm guilty.
True. But if you answer my questions, maybe the prosecuting attorney can convince the judge to give you a lighter sentence.
That sounds great, but you're forgetting something. I ran a laundering business for almost 6 years.
Was that before or after you were sent to Seoul Correctional?
Before. Well, what difference does it make? I work with Rico since then. In your book, I'm sure that makes me guilty by association.
True. But no offense. I want the person you're working for.
And you think that's Rico?
No, I think it's someone in D.C.
Charlene looked past Nick just as Michelin walked in. He turned around.
Then in that case, you better start with her office and the department she works for. What's going on?
Michelin asked, walking over to them. Nick smiled as he turned back to Charlene.
Charlene here is about to tell me the name of the person she's working for.
Looks like I'm just in time.
Michelin moved closer to the cell.
You say the person is working for Agent Stone's department in Washington, D.C.?
That's right, Sheriff.
Is it Brett Alger?
No, it's Will Quarter, Brett's boss.
Wait a minute, what?
I'm sorry, what?
Nick and Michelin tripped over their words.
William Quarter is the man you had the...
Yes. He and Brett have been running this scam for years. When I found out about it, I blackmailed him. I told him that if he didn't cut me in the deal, that I was going to expose him. He cut me in, and I brought in a couple of friends of mine, Ruby and Helen. We started a small operation up in New York. Will and Brett forged government checks payable to Helen, Ruby, and myself for dummy charity organizations we started. But things got a little sloppy, and we got arrested.
By Rico?
Yeah. But he and I had a real connection, so when I got out, we went into business together. I introduced him to Will and Brett, and that's when things really took off, until Rico decided he didn't need me anymore.
And that's when you decided to get even.
I knew where to go. I went back to Will. He said that he would handle it. He told me to get out of town for a little while, and he would take care of Rico. So if you want any more information, you should ask your girlfriend, Miss Stone, because she met with Will and Brett last month.
Michelin was about to speak when Nick calmly interrupted.
2 things, Charlene. Agent Stone's not my girlfriend, and I'm fully aware of her meeting with Will Quarter and Brett Alger.
Well, I'm sure he said something. Miss Berta, our meeting had nothing to do with their involvement in this case. Then who told you? There was another source. Well, that's all I have. Are you willing to testify to this in an open court? With Judge Strader? Yes, initially, but counterfeiting and forging are federal offenses. The case would be tried in a federal court. First, there would be a preliminary hearing here in Callahan to determine whether there is sufficient evidence against you. Once done, you would stand trial before a federal judge, and there you would be sentenced. And what about your department? Charges would be filed, and those guilty would also stand trial. If you both will excuse me.
Michelin said as she left.
Was it something I said?
No, you've been very helpful. Thank you.
Nick returned to the conference room. It was where they had spent the better part of the afternoon working. Sure enough, there sat Michelin in the dimly lit corner with her head buried in the palm of her hands. Nick turned on the light. He walked over and stooped down in front of her. Go ahead and say it.
Say what?
That Sid is a fraud. I'm a fraud. Michelin got up and walked over to the window. Instead of looking out, she turned and sat down on the counter in front of it. Then she laughed, shaking her head in disbelief. It all makes sense now. That's the reason Will took Brett's side, and why Brett sent me here to begin with. Then when it came out about Charlene, Brett knew that it was all a matter of time before we found out about him and Will. That's why he altered her file. Then he goes and has Rico get me out of the picture when he finds out that I'm still involved in the case.
I'm sorry.
For all I know, Andy could be in on it too. Michelin said, trading her place on the counter for a chair. Nick said, claiming the chair beside her. I'm sorry I failed you.
You didn't fail me. As far as I'm concerned, you cracked this case open.
Thank you, but I was referring to us.
You didn't fail there either. My timing was off. Way off. I shouldn't have hit you with that. You came here to do a job that I fought you every step of the way until I realized how much I loved you. It's really no wonder why you reacted the way you did.
It's not you, Nick Moran. It's me. I'm a fraud.
Stop saying that.
It's true. My whole life's work was based on a lie.
Did you know about it before you came here?
No, I didn't.
Then by all means, stop blaming yourself. You know what this is?
What?
This is about a woman scorned so badly that she would stop at nothing to bring down the men who have hurt her. You just got caught in the middle, plain and simple.
Nothing about this whole mess has been simple. Look at what you went through.
My kids.
Have you talked to them?
They've been gone for only a week, but it seems like forever. I would have called to talk to them, but I know that Rico has just as much access to phone tapping as I do, and I don't want it to get out where they are.
I don't blame you. If you want me to go, I'll understand.
Why would I want you to go?
Because everyone from my office hasn't been who they claim to be. I would understand if you had reservations about my being here.
If I did, I would have never asked you to marry me.
You did, didn't you?
Yeah, you probably forgot about that.
Nick, I didn't know what to say, even if your timing was perfect. I would have never been prepared for you to tell me that I'm the one you chose to share the rest of your life with.
Why?
Susan left you with an enormous chip on your shoulder. And what about your children? I couldn't imagine being the one that you'd put not only in your life, but also in theirs. I was shocked.
But you never said yes.
I was trying to formulate in my mind what it all meant. It was a lot to think about.
Is it still?
Are you saying you still want me to be your wife? Not just for this moment, but for the rest of your life? Do you know how irritatingly annoying I can be? Have you forgotten how much I bug you?
Those are a lot of questions. But I will say this. When I first met you, I said, sure, she's pretty. And you're right. I didn't trust you. But the more time I spent with you, the more time I wanted to spend with you. You made me happy. But I didn't want to accept it. And yet I couldn't ignore it. Everything about you was becoming a part of my day, a part of me. Until finally I couldn't go another minute without asking you to be my wife. I just wish that I would have planned it better, with dinner, flowers, a ring.
And what, a song? Nick, those are just things.
What are you saying?
I don't know if the timing is any better, but if you could give a girl another chance, I'm sure you won't be disappointed.
Nick smiled.
Okay. Michelin Stone, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Will you marry me?
Yes, Nick. I'll marry you.
She laughed, wrapping her arms around his shoulders as he held her close to himself.